My name is Diane Mitchell. I'm 62 years old. What I'm about to tell you happened 3 weeks ago, but the story really began 30 years before that. I need you to understand something first. There's a particular kind of pain that comes from loving someone who's ashamed of you. It doesn't arrive loud or violent. It comes in whispers, in averted eyes, in the way your own daughter introduces you as a friend when her colleagues walk by. That morning, I woke up in my small apartment on the east side of town. The sun was filtering through the curtains I'd sewn myself back in 1997, the year Sarah turned 3. The fabric was faded now, like so many things in my life, but it still kept the light soft and golden. I made coffee in the same pot I'd used for 20 years. The smell filled the kitchen, mixing with the scent of the jasmine plant on the windowsill. I was planning to visit Sarah at work. She'd mentioned her office was having a small exhibition in the lobby, some local artists displaying their work. She said it casually, not really inviting me, but not forbidding it either. I thought maybe, just maybe, she wanted me there but couldn't quite say it. You see, Sarah and I have always had this strange dance. She loves me, I know that. But there's something else there too. Something that started when she was about 12 or 13. A kind of embarrassment. A wish that I were different. More successful, more glamorous, more like the mothers of her friends who drove expensive cars and wore designer clothes. I put on my best blouse, the navy one with the small white flowers. I brushed my hair and pinned it back the way I used to when I had important meetings. That was a long time ago, before I became invisible. The bus ride took 40 minutes. I watched the city change outside the window, neighborhoods shifting from humble to prosperous. Sarah worked for Caldwell & Partners, a prestigious advertising agency in the financial district. The building was all glass and steel, the kind that reflects the sky so perfectly you almost forget it's there. I walked through the revolving doors and felt immediately out of place. Everyone looked so young, so polished, so purposeful. I gave my name at the reception desk, and a security guard directed me to the 3rd floor. The elevator rose smoothly, silently. I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls and suddenly saw myself through Sarah's eyes. An older woman in an outdated blouse, gray hair styled simply, hands worn from years of ordinary work. No wonder she never invited me to her world. When the doors opened, I stepped into a bright, modern space. White walls, abstract art, people moving with confident strides. I spotted Sarah immediately. She was standing near a glass conference room, talking to 2 younger colleagues. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She wore a charcoal suit that I knew cost more than my monthly rent. She saw me and her expression changed, just for a second. A flash of something that looked like panic. I walked toward her, smiling, trying to make it easy for her. "Hi, sweetheart," I said softly. She glanced at her colleagues, then back at me. Her voice was pleasant but distant. "Oh, hi, everyone. This is..." She paused. The pause was too long. "This is Diane. A family friend. A family friend." The words hung in the air like smoke. I felt them settle into my chest, heavy and cold. But I smiled. I've become very good at smiling through things. "Nice to meet you," one of the young women said, already turning away. Sarah touched my elbow, guiding me away from the group. We walked toward the exhibition space in the lobby. Her grip was gentle but firm, urgent. "Mom," she whispered, leaning close, "please don't tell anyone you're my mother." I stopped walking. The lobby suddenly felt very large and very empty. "Why?" I asked, though I already knew. She glanced around, making sure no one was listening. It's complicated here. Office politics. I'm up for a promotion, and I need to maintain a certain image. You understand, don't you?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to ask what kind of image required erasing your own mother. But instead I nodded, because that's what I always did. We walked through the exhibition in silence. The art was beautiful, bold colors and dramatic compositions. I used to create things like that once, a lifetime ago. Sarah's phone buzzed. She looked at it, and her face went pale. "He's here," she whispered. "Who?" "Mr. Caldwell, the founder. He almost never comes to the office anymore. I don't know why he's here today." I was about to ask why that mattered when I heard footsteps behind us. Strong, deliberate steps. "Excuse me," a male voice said. We both turned. The man was in his mid-40s, tall, with graying hair at the temples. He wore an expensive suit, but his eyes were what struck me. Kind eyes. Familiar somehow. He was looking directly at me. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, his voice steady but colored with something I couldn't quite name. "But I have to ask, are you the woman in the photograph?" Sarah's hand gripped my arm. "Mr. Caldwell, He ignored her. His eyes never left my face. "The photograph on my wall," he continued. "The one from 1987. The family outside the factory gates. You're her, aren't you? You're the photographer." The world tilted slightly. 1987. The steel mill strike. The photograph that won the National Press Award. My voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, that was me. A long time ago." Sarah's grip on my arm tightened. Her face had gone completely white. Mr. Caldwell smiled, and suddenly I knew why his eyes looked familiar. "I was the boy in that photograph," he said quietly. "The one holding his mother's hand. That image changed everything for my family. It brought attention to the strike. It helped us win. My mother always said we owed our future to the woman who saw us when nobody else would." He extended his hand to me. "It's an honor to finally meet you, Ms. Mitchell." I shook his hand, feeling the weight of 30 years collapse into this single moment. Behind me, I heard Sarah's breath catch, and that's when everything began to unravel. But that wasn't even the most shocking part of what happened next. Marcus Caldwell's hand was warm in mine, firm, real. I hadn't been recognized as a photographer in over 25 years. I'd almost forgotten that version of myself existed. "I can't believe this," he said, his voice filled with genuine emotion. "That photograph has been on my office wall since I opened this company. It's the first thing I see every morning, a reminder of where I came from, of what's possible when someone cares enough to witness the truth." I felt Sarah shift beside me. She was trying to process this, trying to reconcile the mother she'd introduced as a family friend with the woman her boss was treating like someone important. "I had no idea," she whispered. "Mr. Caldwell, I didn't know you. How could you?" He smiled at her kindly. "I never talk about my childhood, not in the office anyway. But that photograph, Ms. Mitchell's photograph, it's sacred to me." He turned back to me. "Would you join me for coffee? I have so many questions. I've wondered for years who took that picture, what happened to her, why she stopped working." The invitation hung in the air. Sarah was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before, something between shock and fear. "I'd like that," I said quietly. "Let me tell you about the woman I used to be, the one Sarah never really knew. In 1979, I was 21 years old and fearless. I just graduated from a small arts college with a degree in photojournalism and a fire in my belly to change the world. I believed the camera was a weapon against injustice, that images could move hearts and shift policy. My first job was with a regional newspaper. I covered everything: city council meetings, high school football games, house fires. But what I loved most was finding the stories no one else wanted to tell. The factory workers fighting for fair wages, the families being displaced by urban development, the children in underfunded schools. I met Thomas at a press conference in 1981. He was a war photographer, just back from covering conflicts in Central America. He had this intensity about him, like he carried the weight of everything he'd witnessed. We were married 6 months later. Those were golden years. We traveled together when we could, worked on separate projects when we couldn't. Our apartment was tiny but filled with light. We'd develop film in the bathroom, turning it into a makeshift darkroom. The smell of chemicals and coffee, the sound of Miles Davis on the record player, the feeling that we were part of something bigger than ourselves. Sarah was born in 1985. We named her after Thomas's mother. She was perfect. 10 tiny fingers, eyes that looked right through you, a cry that could wake the whole building. Thomas died when she was 2 years old. A roadside bomb in a country most Americans couldn't find on a map. He'd gone to document a peace negotiation. Instead, he became another casualty. The grief nearly destroyed me. For months, I couldn't pick up a camera, couldn't look at our work, couldn't imagine a future without him. But I had Sarah, and Sarah needed me. In 1987, I took one last assignment, the steel mill strike. It was supposed to be a quick job, a way to ease back into work. I brought 2-year-old Sarah with me, strapped to my back in a carrier. She played with my light meter while I photographed the families on the picket line. That's where I saw them. A woman holding her son's hand. They were standing at the factory gates at sunrise, the light golden and soft. The boy, maybe 4 years old, was looking up at his mother with complete trust. She was looking at the factory with absolute determination. I raised my camera and captured it. One frame, one perfect moment of dignity in the face of struggle. That photograph won awards. It was published in newspapers across the country. It helped turn public opinion in favor of the workers. The strike was settled 2 weeks later. But by then, I'd already made my decision. Sarah needed stability. She needed a mother who came home every night, who didn't risk her life in dangerous places, who could afford dance lessons and birthday parties and all the normal things children deserve. So I stopped. I put my cameras in storage. I took a job at a photo development shop in a strip mall. Later, when that shop closed, I worked reception at a dentist's office, then at a law firm. Jobs that paid the bills, jobs that didn't matter. I told myself I was being noble, sacrificing my dreams for my daughter's security. But somewhere along the way, Sarah started to see it differently. She saw a mother who'd given up, who'd settled, who'd let her talent die. I remember the first time I realized she was ashamed of me. She was 14, a career day at her high school. All the other parents came in their professional clothes, talking about their important jobs. Lawyers, doctors, business executives. When they asked what I did, Sarah said quickly, "She works in administration." Not a lie exactly, but not the truth either. The pattern continued through high school, through college, through her early career. She loved me, I know she did. But she also wished I were different, more successful, more like the mother she thought she deserved. I never told her about the awards, about the exhibitions, about the photograph that changed a family's life. What would have been the point? That was someone else, a ghost from another life. Standing in her office lobby now, watching her face as Marcus Caldwell spoke about that photograph with reverence, I saw something crack open in her expression. "I'd like you to see the original print," Marcus was saying. "It's in my private office. Would you come up, both of you?" He looked at Sarah directly. "I'd like your mother to see how much her work has meant to me." Sarah's face flushed deep red. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. My mother?" she stammered. Marcus looked confused. "Yes, you're Diane Mitchell's daughter, aren't you? Sarah Mitchell?" The silence stretched thin and terrible. Sarah's eyes met mine. In them, I saw shame. Real shame. Not the embarrassment she'd felt about my ordinary life, but something deeper, sharper. She'd just realized that the mother she'd hidden, the woman she'd introduced as a family friend, was someone her boss had admired for decades. "Yes," she finally whispered. "She's my mother." Marcus smiled warmly. "You must be so proud. Your mother's work changed my life." Sarah nodded mechanically, but her eyes stayed on me, wide and wounded. We followed Marcus to the elevator. The ride to the top floor was silent except for the soft hum of machinery. When the doors opened, we stepped into a world I hadn't seen in 30 years. Tasteful art on the walls, thick carpet, the quiet hum of success. Marcus's office was at the end of the hall, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a massive desk, leather chairs, and there on the wall behind his desk, in a simple black frame, was my photograph. The woman and her son at the factory gates, 1987, my last real work. I walked closer, barely breathing. I hadn't seen this image in decades. Looking at it now, I remembered exactly how it felt to press the shutter. The weight of Sarah on my back, the morning light, the sense that I was capturing something true. "It's beautiful," I whispered. "It's more than beautiful," Marcus said softly. "It's why I'm standing here today." He moved to stand beside the photograph. That boy holding his mother's hand? That's me. I was 4 years old. My father had been laid off. My mother was working the picket line while trying to feed 3 children. We were about to lose our house. His voice grew thick with emotion. When this photograph was published, everything changed. The media coverage intensified. Donations poured in for the striking families. The company finally came to the table. My father got his job back. We kept our house. He turned to look at me. But more than that, this image taught me something. It taught me that being seen matters. That having your story told with dignity and truth can change the outcome. That's why I went into advertising. I wanted to tell stories, to make people seen. I felt tears in my eyes. I never knew, I said. I never knew what happened to you after. I've spent years trying to find you, Marcus said. But the credit line just said D. Mitchell, freelance. No contact information. The newspaper told me you'd stopped working shortly after. I thought maybe you'd moved abroad. Or he trailed off, or died. That's what he meant. I had a daughter to raise, I said simply. Alone. Marcus nodded, understanding passing between us. Then he looked at Sarah. You're lucky to have her. I hope you know that. Sarah's face crumpled. Not with sadness exactly. With something more complicated. Realization, maybe. Or regret. Can I speak to you privately? She asked me, her voice small. Please? Marcus gestured to a smaller conference room adjoining his office. Take all the time you need. We walked into the room. The door closed behind us with a soft click. Sarah turned to face me, and for the first time in years, really looked at me, not through the lens of embarrassment or disappointment, but with eyes that were finally open. Mom, she started, her voice breaking. I didn't know. About the awards, about what you did. Why didn't you ever tell me? I smiled sadly. Would it have mattered? She flinched like I'd slapped her. And then she asked the question I'd been waiting years to hear. What else don't I know about you? That's when I decided to tell her everything, even the parts I'd kept hidden, even the truth about why I really stopped working. Because what I was about to reveal would change how she saw everything, her childhood, her father, the sacrifice I'd made, and most of all, the secret I'd been carrying for 30 years. Sarah stood by the window, her back to me. The city stretched out below us, all glass and steel and ambition. I need you to understand something, I said quietly. The life you think I gave up? It wasn't quite what you imagine. She turned to face me. Her eyes were red. After your father died, I was broken, I continued. For months I couldn't function. Your grandmother helped with you while I just existed. I'd sit in our apartment staring at his cameras, his equipment, unable to touch any of it. I remember Grandma, Sarah whispered. She died when I was 5. Yes, and when she got sick, I knew I had to choose. I could chase assignments across the country, leaving you with strangers, or I could be present, actually raise you. Sarah's jaw tightened. But you could have done both. Other mothers had partners, I interrupted gently. Had family support, had money. I had none of those things. Your father's life insurance barely covered his funeral. The truth hung between us. The steel mill assignment, I said. That was supposed to be my comeback. One morning of work. You were with me, remember? Strapped to my back? She shook her head. I don't remember any of this. You were too. But that morning, something happened that made me realize I couldn't do both. I paused, choosing my words carefully. We were at the picket line. I was focused on getting the shot. So focused that I didn't notice you'd unbuckled yourself from the carrier. You climbed down, started wandering toward the road. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. A truck was coming, fast. I saw you at the last second, dropped my camera and ran, got to you just in time. The memory still made my hands shake. That moment of pure terror. My daughter's small body inches from tragedy. The camera shattering on the pavement. The photograph that's on Marcus's wall, I said. I took it 30 seconds after I pulled you back to safety. My hands were still trembling. But I knew if I didn't capture that moment, I'd failed. Failed the workers, failed the story. Sarah was crying now. Real tears. That's when I understood, I said. I couldn't serve 2 masters. Photography demanded everything. But so did you. And you were more important. You never told me, she whispered. What was the point? You were safe. That's all that mattered. Sarah crossed the room and took my hands. Hers were cold. I've been so cruel to you, she said. All these years, I thought you just gave up, settled. I was embarrassed because you weren't ambitious, weren't successful. I know. But you sacrificed everything for me. I touched her cheek gently. Not everything. I got you. That was enough. She pulled me into a hug. We stood there holding each other, the city humming below us. When we pulled apart, her face had changed, softened. I want to make this right. she said, starting now. No more hiding. No more being ashamed. I smiled. It's okay, sweetheart. I understand. No, she said firmly. It's not okay. And there's something I need to tell you too, about why I've been so desperate to seem successful, why I've been hiding you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm in trouble, Mom. Real trouble. And I think Mr. Caldwell is about to find out. My heart went cold. What kind of trouble? Before she could answer, there was a knock at the door. Marcus stepped in, his expression serious. Sarah, he said, we need to talk. About the Meridian account. Sarah's face went white, and I realized this story was far from over. Marcus's expression was unreadable, professional. The warmth he'd shown moments before had shifted into something cooler, more controlled. Perhaps we should discuss this in my office, he said, looking directly at Sarah. My daughter's hand found mine, squeezed tight, like she used to do when she was small and frightened. Mr. Caldwell, she started, her voice shaking. I can explain. I think that would be wise, he said, not unkindly. Then he looked at me. Ms. Mitchell, I apologize. This is a work matter. Would you mind waiting here? This shouldn't take long. Every instinct in my body screamed to stay with my daughter, but Sarah gave a small nod. It's okay, Mom. I need to handle this. They left the room. Through the glass wall, I could see them walk into Marcus's office. The door closed. Sarah sat in one of the leather chairs, her posture rigid. Marcus sat across from her, his face serious. I couldn't hear anything, could only watch, and that's when I noticed something. On the conference table where I stood, someone had left a folder. The tab read, Meridian Pitch, Final Review. I shouldn't have looked. I know that, but my daughter was in trouble, and I needed to understand why. Inside were presentation boards, mock-ups, strategy documents. The Meridian account was apparently a major cosmetics company looking to rebrand. The pitch was scheduled for next week. $20 million was at stake. As I flipped through the pages, something caught my eye. The creative concept looked familiar, very familiar. And then I saw it. A small notation in the margin, in handwriting that wasn't Sarah's. Original concept by Jennifer Torres, junior designer, submitted March 15th. The presentation was dated April 2nd. Sarah's name was listed as creative lead. My stomach dropped. I looked up through the glass wall. Sarah was talking rapidly, her hands moving. Marcus was listening, his expression growing darker. I understood now. She'd taken someone else's work, claimed it as her own, and Marcus had found out. In that moment, I saw my daughter clearly. Not the successful executive she pretended to be, not the ashamed child who hid her mother, but a frightened woman who'd made a terrible choice. The irony cut deep. She'd been embarrassed by my ordinariness, my lack of ambition. Meanwhile, she'd been building her success on lies. The conversation in Marcus's office lasted maybe 15 minutes. When they emerged, Sarah's face was blotchy from crying. Marcus looked tired. He walked her to the conference room door, spoke to her quietly, then left. Sarah came in and collapsed into a chair. He knows, she whispered. He knows everything. I sat beside her, waited. The Meridian pitch, she said. It wasn't mine. It was Jenny's. She's 24, just out of design school. Brilliant. She submitted this concept 3 weeks ago in a team brainstorm. I saw it and I took it. I refined it, yes, made it better. But the core idea was hers. Why? I asked quietly. Sarah's laugh was bitter. Because I'm desperate. I've been at this company for 6 years. I've worked insane hours, sacrificed everything, and I keep getting passed over for promotions. Younger people keep leaping ahead of me. I thought if I could land Meridian, if I could prove myself valuable, finally I'd be seen. So you stole. She flinched at the word. I borrowed. I was going to credit her in the final presentation. After we won the account. Were you really? Silence. How did Marcus find out? I asked. Jenny came to him yesterday, showed him her original sketches, the dated files, everything. He's been investigating all morning. She looked at me with desperate eyes. He's going to fire me, Mom. And he should. I deserve it. I thought about the woman in my photograph, Marcus's mother, standing at those factory gates with dignity, fighting for what was right. I thought about the boy holding her hand, learning that truth matters, that integrity matters. And I thought about my daughter, who'd spent so many years ashamed of the wrong things. "What did he say?" I asked. "He said he's disappointed, that he expected better, that this kind of behavior goes against everything the company stands for." She wiped her eyes. "He's meeting with HR and the board tomorrow. He'll let me know his decision by end of day." "Will you lose your job?" "Probably. And my reputation. No one will hire me after this. The industry is small. Word gets around." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything, for being ashamed of you, for introducing you as a friend, for judging your choices when I didn't understand anything about sacrifice or integrity." I took her hand. "You made a mistake," I said. "A serious one, but mistakes don't define us. What we do next, that's what matters. What can I do? It's over." "Is it?" I stood up. "Come with me." "Where?" "To talk to Marcus." Fear flashed across her face. "Mom, no. I can't face him again. Not now." "Yes, you can, and you will, because I have something to tell him, something about that photograph. Something I've never told anyone." Sarah stared at me. "What are you talking about? That image on his wall? The one that changed his life? It almost didn't exist." I walked toward Marcus's office, and Sarah followed. When we entered, Marcus looked up from his desk, surprised to see us. "Ms. Mitchell," he said, "is everything all right?" "No," I said, "but I think it will be. May we sit?" He gestured to the chairs. We sat. "I need to tell you something about the photograph," I said. "About how it was really made." Marcus leaned forward, listening. "That morning at the picket line, I took dozens of shots, different angles, different moments, but none of them felt right. None of them captured the truth." I paused, gathering courage. "And then I saw your mother, saw you, saw that moment of quiet strength, but I was out of film, had one frame left on my last roll, one chance." Marcus was completely still. "I almost didn't take it," I said. "Almost saved that frame for something safer. But I took a risk, trusted my instinct, and it worked." I looked at Sarah. "But here's what I never told anyone. When I developed that role, I realized I'd made a technical error. The exposure was off, too much light, the image was nearly ruined." Marcus's eyes widened. "I spent 3 days in the darkroom trying to save it, adjusting chemicals, timing, temperature. Most photographers would have given up, would have called it a loss. But I knew that moment mattered, that your story deserved to be seen." I stood up and walked to the photograph on his wall. "This image exists because I refused to give up on it, because I believed the truth was worth fighting for, even when it seemed impossible." I turned to face them both. "Sarah made a terrible mistake. She knows that. But she's also my daughter. And I know her heart. I know she's capable of better." Marcus looked at Sarah. "What do you have to say?" Sarah stood. Her voice was steady now. "I have no excuses, Mr. Caldwell. What I did was wrong. Jenny deserves full credit for the Meridian concept. I'd like to formally withdraw as creative lead and recommend her for the position." "And the pitch?" Marcus asked. "I'll help her prepare it, behind the scenes. No credit, just support, because her idea deserves to win." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "You understand this doesn't erase what you did," he finally said. "I know. And there will be consequences. A formal reprimand, possibly suspension." "I understand." He looked at me, then back at Sarah. "But I also understand second chances. Your mother's photograph taught me that people are more than their worst moments. That context matters. That growth is possible." Hope flickered in Sarah's eyes. "I'm not firing you," Marcus said. "But you're on probation. 6 months. One more misstep and you're done. Understood?" "Yes, sir." "And you'll personally apologize to Jenny, publicly, at tomorrow's team meeting." "I will." Marcus stood, extended his hand to Sarah. She shook it. Then he turned to me. "Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, for the photograph, for the story, and for reminding me why second chances matter." As we left his office, Sarah grabbed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving me." I squeezed back. That's what mothers do. We rode the elevator down in silence. When we reached the lobby, Sarah stopped. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Would you teach me? About photography? About seeing things the way you did? I smiled. I'd love that. We walked out into the afternoon sunlight. For the first time in years, I felt like she was really seeing me. But what I didn't know then, what neither of us could have imagined, was that this was just the beginning. Because 3 days later, something would happen that would test everything we just rebuilt. And this time, the truth would be far more complicated than either of us was ready for. 3 days passed. Sarah and I had coffee twice. Real conversations. She asked about my old work, wanted to see the few prints I'd kept stored in boxes under my bed. On Thursday morning, I was watering my jasmine plant when my phone rang. Sarah's number. "Mom?" Her voice was tight, frightened. "What's wrong? Can you come to the office? Now? Please? What happened? Just come. Please." I grabbed my purse and caught the next bus. My heart hammered the entire ride. When I arrived, Sarah was waiting in the lobby. Her face was pale, her eyes red. "Jenny's in the hospital," she said without preamble. "What? How?" "She collapsed this morning during the meridian pitch preparation. They think it's exhaustion, dehydration. But Mom," her voice dropped. "Before the ambulance came, she said something strange." "What?" She said, "Tell Sarah I forgive her. Tell her it wasn't worth it." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Sarah's hands were shaking. "I don't know, but people are talking. Saying maybe the stress I caused her, the stolen work, maybe it pushed her too hard. Made her sick. That's not your fault, isn't it?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I stole from her, humiliated her, and now she's in the hospital. Sarah, people don't collapse from hurt feelings. There's something else going on. Marcus wants to see me. He asked specifically if you could come too." We rode the elevator up. My stomach churned. Marcus was in his office with another woman I didn't recognize. She was maybe 35, wearing a dark suit. FBI agent written all over her. "Ms. Mitchell, Sarah, please sit," Marcus said. His voice was formal, cold. The woman spoke. "I'm Detective Rachel Morrison. I'm investigating Jennifer Torres's collapse." "Detective?" Sarah's voice cracked. "I thought it was exhaustion." "It was poisoning," Morrison said flatly. "Someone tampered with her coffee this morning, added a significant amount of a sedative. She's stable now, but it could have been much worse." The room spun. "You think someone tried to hurt her?" I asked. "We know someone did. The question is who, and why." Morrison's eyes locked on Sarah. "You had motive, Ms. Mitchell. She exposed your theft, threatened your career, and you were in the break room this morning when she made her coffee." Sarah stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "I didn't do this. I would never—" "Sit down," Morrison said calmly. "I'm not accusing you. Yet. But I need to understand the timeline." I reached for Sarah's hand. She was trembling violently. "My daughter didn't poison anyone," I said firmly. Morrison pulled out a notebook. "Then help me understand what happened. Sarah, walk me through your morning. Every detail." Sarah took a shaky breath and began to talk. But as she spoke, I saw something in Marcus's expression, something that made my blood run cold. He didn't believe her, and neither, I realized, did Detective Morrison. My daughter was about to become a suspect in an attempted murder. Detective Morrison's questions were relentless. What time did Sarah arrive at the office? Who else was in the break room? Did she touch Jenny's coffee cup? Did anyone see her near it? Sarah answered each one, her voice growing smaller with every word. "I got to the office at 7:30, she said. "Jenny was already there, preparing for the pitch. I went to the break room around 8, made myself tea. Jenny came in a few minutes later, made her coffee. Black, 2 sugars. She always has it the same way." "Did you speak to her?" Morrison asked. "Yes. I told her I was sorry. Again. That I wanted to help her succeed with the pitch." Sarah's voice broke. "She was kind about it. Said she understood pressure. That she hoped we could move past it. And then?" She took her coffee back to her desk. I stayed in the break room for a few more minutes, checked my emails on my phone, then went to my own desk. Morrison made notes. Who else was in the break room during this time? Sarah thought hard. David from accounting. He was microwaving oatmeal. And I think I saw Rebecca, one of the designers, but she didn't stay long. Anyone else? Sarah shook her head. Morrison turned to Marcus. "Mr. Caldwell, I'll need access to your security footage. Break room, hallways, all of it." "Of course," Marcus said quietly. I watched him carefully. His face was composed, professional, but there was something else there, a flicker of doubt when he looked at Sarah. "Mr. Caldwell," I said, "you don't really think my daughter did this?" He met my eyes. "I don't want to think it." But Sarah had motive and opportunity. "So did half the office," I shot back. "Anyone who knew about the stolen concept could have wanted revenge on Sarah's behalf. Or maybe it has nothing to do with that at all." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "I was an investigative photojournalist for 15 years, I said. "I know how to look at a situation from multiple angles. Who else might have wanted to hurt Jenny? What else was she working on? Did she have any enemies? Jealous colleagues?" Sarah looked at me with surprise. I'd never spoken to her like this, never shown her this side of myself. Morrison considered. "Those are good questions, but the most obvious suspect is usually the right one. Except when they're not," I said firmly. Marcus stood. "Detective, I'd like to cooperate fully, but I'd also like to protect my employees' privacy until we know more. Perhaps we could review the security footage together, see if there's anything unusual?" Morrison nodded. "I'll need statements from everyone who was in the office this morning, and I want that break room sealed. No one touches anything." She looked at Sarah one more time. "Don't leave town, Ms. Mitchell. We'll have more questions." After she left, the three of us sat in heavy silence. "I didn't do this," Sarah whispered. "You have to believe me." Marcus rubbed his face. "I want to believe you, Sarah. Your mother's right about one thing. There could be other explanations. But this looks very bad." "I know." I stood up. "May I see the break room? Before the detective seals it?" Marcus hesitated. "I'm not sure that's appropriate. I won't touch anything. I just want to look. Please, let me use the skills I spent years developing. Let me help my daughter." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. We walked down to the break room. It was a typical corporate space. Coffee maker, microwave, refrigerator, small table with chairs. Nothing unusual. Except, I noticed something immediately. The coffee maker had been cleaned, wiped down. The counter around it was spotless. "Does someone clean in here during the morning?" I asked. Marcus frowned. "No. Cleaning staff comes at night." "Why?" "This counter is too clean. If people were making coffee all morning, there should be spills, drips, something." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're right. There's always a mess. People are sloppy." I looked closer. In the small gap between the coffee maker and the wall, I saw something. A tiny white residue. "Don't touch it," I said. "But look." Marcus leaned in. "Powder of some kind. Could be the sedative," I said. "Someone put it in her coffee, then cleaned up the evidence, but they missed that spot. Or someone cleaned up after making their own coffee," Marcus said. "It could be sugar, creamer. Maybe. But it's worth investigating." I pulled out my phone and took several photos. Wide shots of the room, close-ups of the residue, the clean counter. "Old habits," I said, noticing their expressions. "Document everything." We left the break room. Marcus called Morrison, told her about the residue. She said she'd send forensics immediately. Sarah and I went to wait in a small conference room. "Mom," she said quietly, "thank you for believing me." "Of course I believe you. You made a mistake with Jenny's work, but you're not violent. You're not cruel." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "There's something I didn't tell the detective." My heart sank. "What?" "Yesterday I got an email, anonymous. It said, 'Karma is coming for you. You'll pay for what you did to Jenny.'" "Sarah, why didn't you mention that?" "Because it makes me look guilty, like someone was threatening me and I retaliated by poisoning Jenny. Or," I said slowly, "it means someone else is involved, someone who wanted to hurt Jenny and frame you at the same time. Who would do that?" I thought about the office, the people I'd seen, the dynamics I'd observed. "Who benefits if both you and Jenny are gone?" I asked. Sarah's face went pale. "The Meridian pitch. If Jenny's in the hospital and I'm under investigation, someone else would have to step in, take over the account. Who's next in line?" "Rebecca, the other senior designer. She's been here almost as long as me. She's been pushing for a promotion, too." I remembered the name. Rebecca had been in the break room that morning, but she hadn't stayed long. Or had she? "We need to look at that security footage," I said. Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Forensics is here. Morrison wants us to stay available. Sarah, you're officially a person of interest." Sarah closed her eyes. But, Marcus continued, looking at me, she also said your observation about the clean counter was valuable. They're testing the residue now. He sat down across from us. Ms. Mitchell, he said. Diane, you said you were an investigative journalist. How deep did that work go? Deep enough. I covered corruption, crime, injustice. I knew how to follow evidence, how to see what others missed. Would you be willing to look into this? Unofficially. I can't have my company embroiled in scandal. And he glanced at Sarah. I want to know the truth. All of it. You want me to investigate? I want someone I trust to find out what really happened. Morrison is good, but she's focused on Sarah. I need someone who'll look wider. I felt something stir inside me. Something that had been dormant for 30 years. The investigator. The truth seeker. The woman who believed that seeing clearly could change outcomes. I'll do it, I said. But I need access. To the office. To people. To records. You'll have it. Sarah looked between us. Mom, you don't have to do this. I took her hand. Yes, I do. Because someone tried to hurt an innocent woman. And they're trying to destroy my daughter, and I will not let either of those things stand. Marcus nodded. I'll get you a temporary security pass. You can start tomorrow. After he left, Sarah hugged me tight. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, baby. But we're going to find the truth. I promise. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the break room, the clean counter, the anonymous email. Someone had planned this carefully. Someone who knew Sarah's history with Jenny, who knew she'd be blamed. At 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop asking questions, or the next victim won't survive. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. This wasn't just about theft or office politics anymore. Someone was willing to kill to protect their secret. And they were watching us. I showed the text to Sarah first thing in the morning. Her face went white. We need to tell Detective Morrison, she said. Not yet. Whoever sent this wants us scared, wants us to stop looking, which means we're getting close to something. Close to what? We haven't even started investigating. Exactly. Which means they're watching us. They know Marcus asked me to help. They're nervous. I screenshot the message and saved it. Then I got dressed and headed to the office. Marcus had arranged a visitor's pass and a small workspace near Sarah's department. I spent the first hour just observing, watching people move through the office, noting interactions, body language, tensions. Rebecca, the senior designer Sarah had mentioned, was at her desk working intently. She was maybe 38, polished, professional. She glanced at me once, curious, then went back to her screen. I introduced myself to several people, told them I was a consultant Marcus had brought in. Most were polite but distracted. One person caught my attention. David, the accountant who'd been in the break room that morning. He was nervous, kept checking his phone, avoiding eye contact. At lunch, I found him in the cafeteria. Mind if I sit? I asked. He looked startled. Oh, sure. We made small talk for a few minutes. Then I said casually, I understand you were in the break room when Jenny made her coffee. His fork clattered onto his plate. Are you investigating me? I'm investigating what happened. There's a difference. I didn't do anything. I was just making oatmeal. I believe you, but you might have seen something. Something that didn't seem important at the time. He relaxed slightly. Like what? Who else was there? What did you notice? David thought carefully. Sarah was there, making tea. Jenny came in, made her coffee. Rebecca popped in briefly, grabbed something from the fridge. That's it. How long was Rebecca there? Maybe 30 seconds? She took a yogurt and left. And after Jenny took her coffee and left, what happened? Sarah stayed on her phone. I finished my oatmeal. Then we both left within a minute of each other. Did anyone else come in after you left? He paused. I don't know. I went straight to my desk. I thanked him and let him finish his lunch. That afternoon, I asked Marcus if I could review the security footage. He set me up in a private viewing room with access to the morning's recordings. I watched the break room camera carefully. Everything David said checked out. Sarah made tea. Jenny made coffee. Rebecca grabbed yogurt. But then I noticed something. After everyone left the break room, there was a 2-minute gap before anyone else entered. The camera showed the room empty. Except, I rewound and watched again. At the edge of the frame, I could see the reflection in the microwave door. Someone's hand, reaching toward the coffee maker area. I zoomed in as much as the system allowed. The reflection was blurry, but I could make out a bracelet. Silver. Distinctive. I'd seen that bracelet before. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the photos I'd taken yesterday in the break room. There, in one of the wide shots, I'd accidentally captured Rebecca's wrist as she reached past me. The same bracelet. Rebecca had come back to the break room after everyone left, and she'd been careful to stay out of the camera's direct view. My heart raced. I kept watching the footage. 3 minutes after the hand appeared in the reflection, Rebecca walked back into frame, directly visible this time. She washed her hands thoroughly at the sink, wiped down the counter with paper towels, threw everything in the trash. Then she left, carrying the trash bag with her. I sat back, my mind racing. Rebecca had poisoned Jenny's coffee, cleaned up the evidence, then disposed of it by taking out the trash herself, something no senior designer would normally do. But why? I needed more information. I went back to Marcus's office. I need to see Rebecca's personnel file, I said. Marcus hesitated. That's confidential. Someone poisoned an employee and tried to frame my daughter. Confidentiality is less important than safety. He pulled up her file on his computer, angled the screen so I could see. Rebecca Chen, 8 years at the company. Excellent performance reviews, multiple awards, passed over for creative director 3 times, most recently 6 months ago. Who got the position she wanted? I asked. Marcus's jaw tightened. Sarah did. 6 months ago. There it was. The motive. Rebecca's been here longer, I said. More experience, better credentials on paper. But Sarah got promoted over her. Sarah's work was exceptional that quarter. She earned it. I'm sure she did. But Rebecca didn't see it that way. She saw someone younger, less experienced, leapfrogging over her. And when Sarah's theft was exposed, Rebecca saw an opportunity. To poison Jenny and frame Sarah? To eliminate both of them. With Jenny in the hospital and Sarah under investigation, who would lead the Meridian pitch? Rebecca, Marcus said quietly. I asked her to step in this morning. And if she succeeds, she finally gets the recognition she thinks she deserves. The promotion she's been denied. Everything Sarah has. Marcus ran his hands through his hair. This is insane. Rebecca's been a model employee for years. Resentment builds slowly, I said. Year after year of being overlooked, watching younger people succeed. It festers, and then something breaks. I showed him the footage. The reflection in the microwave, Rebecca's bracelet, her cleaning the counter, taking out the trash. His face went pale. We need to call Morrison, he said. Not yet. This is circumstantial. Rebecca could say she was just tidying up, that she threw out trash because she's considerate. We need more. What do you suggest? I thought about it. About all the investigations I'd done decades ago, about how to make someone reveal themselves. We need her to confess, or to make a mistake. How? An idea formed. Risky, but possible. Tell Rebecca that Jenny's awake and talking, that she remembers something about the coffee. But Jenny's still unconscious. Rebecca doesn't know that. If she thinks Jenny can identify her, she'll panic. She'll either run or try to finish what she started. Marcus looked horrified. You want to use Jenny as bait? No, we'll put security on Jenny's room, but we'll spread the rumor that she's awake. See how Rebecca reacts. And if she does try something, we'll be ready. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. This is your world, isn't it? This kind of investigation. This kind of risk. It used to be. A long time ago. You're good at it. I was. Before I chose a different life. He looked at the photograph on his wall. The woman and the boy at the factory gates. Maybe, he said softly. You can be both. The mother and the investigator. Maybe you don't have to choose. His words hit something deep inside me. Something I'd buried for 30 years. Let's catch whoever did this first, I said. Then we can talk about maybes. That evening, Marcus made the announcement. In an email to the team, he said Jenny was showing signs of improvement and might be able to speak to investigators soon. I watched Rebecca's face when she read it. She went pale. Her hands trembled. She left the office early. I followed at a distance. She didn't go home. She went to the hospital. I texted Marcus. She's going after Jenny. Get security to the room. Now. Then I ran into the hospital, my 62-year-old legs carrying me as fast as they could. I reached Jenny's floor just as Rebecca was approaching her room. A security guard stepped out, blocking her path. "I'm sorry, ma'am. No visitors except immediate family." Rebecca's face twisted. "I'm her colleague. I need to see her." "I'm sorry. Doctor's orders." Rebecca looked around frantically, saw me standing at the end of the hallway, and in her eyes, I saw recognition, realization. She knew I'd figured it out. She turned and ran. I followed, shouting for security. We chased her down 2 flights of stairs, through the lobby, out into the parking lot. She reached her car, fumbled with her keys, dropped them. By the time she picked them up, hospital security and Detective Morrison, who Marcus had called, surrounded her. "Rebecca Chen," Morrison said calmly. "We need to talk about what happened to Jennifer Torres." Rebecca collapsed against her car, sobbing. "I didn't mean to hurt her," she cried. "I just wanted her to miss the pitch, to be too sick to present. I didn't know the dose would be so strong. I didn't mean—" "You have the right to remain silent," Morrison continued. But Rebecca kept talking, confessing, about the sedative she'd stolen from her mother's medicine cabinet, about watching Sarah and Jenny in the break room, about seeing her chance, about 8 years of resentment finally boiling over. I stood in the parking lot, watching them put her in the police car. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. But I'd done it. I'd found the truth, protected my daughter, saved an innocent woman. Morrison came over to me. "Good work," she said. "You should have been a detective." I was something like it. Once. Sarah arrived minutes later, having rushed from the office. She threw her arms around me. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved me. I told you. That's what mothers do." But as we stood there, holding each other, I felt something shift inside me. For 30 years, I'd believed I had to choose between my work and my daughter, between my passion and my duty. But maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I could be both. Maybe it wasn't too late to reclaim the woman I'd been, while still being the mother I'd chosen to become. The question was, did I have the courage to try? Jenny woke up 2 days later. The sedative had cleared her system, and the doctors said she'd make a full recovery. Sarah and I visited her in the hospital. She was sitting up in bed, looking tired but alert. "I'm so sorry," Sarah said immediately. "This happened because of what I did, because I stole from you." Jenny shook her head weakly. "Rebecca did this, not you. She made her own choice. But if I hadn't taken your work, then Rebecca would have found another reason, another excuse." Jenny's voice was gentle. "Hurt people. That's not on you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I want to make this right, however I can." "You already have," Jenny said. "You told the truth, gave me credit. That took courage." They talked for a while longer. When we left, Sarah seemed lighter somehow, like a weight had lifted. In the hospital cafeteria, over terrible coffee, she said, "Mom, I've been thinking." "About what?" "About you, about your work, the photographs." She paused. "Why did you really stop? And don't say it was just because of me." I stirred my coffee, choosing my words carefully. "I stopped because I was afraid," I said. "Afraid that if I kept taking risks, kept chasing stories, something would happen to me, and you'd be alone. But you could have done both. Carefully. Maybe. But I didn't believe that then. I thought sacrifice was the same thing as love." Sarah reached across the table, took my hand. "I think you should start again," she said quietly. "I'm 62 years old. So? You still see things no one else sees. You still know how to find the truth. The world still needs people like you." Her words settled into my chest, warm and unexpected. "You wouldn't be embarrassed?" I asked. "Of an old woman with a camera?" "I was never embarrassed of that," Sarah said. "I was embarrassed that you'd given up, that you seemed to accept less than you deserved. But a mother who fights for truth, who solves mysteries, who saves people." She smiled. "That's someone to be proud of." I felt tears on my cheeks. "What would I even photograph?" I asked. "Whatever matters to you, whatever stories need telling." I thought about it, about dust on my cameras, about all the years of silence. "Maybe," I said. "Maybe I'll try." Sarah squeezed my hand. "I'll help, however you need." We finished our coffee. As we walked to the parking lot, my phone rang. "Marcus. Diane, can you come to the office? There's something I want to show you." When we arrived, Marcus led us to a small gallery space on the executive floor I'd never seen before. "We use this for client presentations sometimes," he explained. But I had an idea. He opened the door. Inside, covering one entire wall, were prints. My prints. The steel mill strike, the workers, the families. And in the center, larger than the others, was the photograph of Marcus and his mother. "How did you—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "I called the newspaper archive. They still had your negatives. I had them printed properly, the way they deserved to be." I walked closer, touching the edge of one frame. My work, my younger self's vision, still powerful, still true. "I want to commission you," Marcus said. "Commission me?" "To photograph our company, our people, the real stories behind the work we do, not corporate headshots, not marketing material, real documentary work." My heart was racing. "I haven't done this in 30 years, I said. "Then it's time to start again." Sarah was beaming beside me. "I don't know," I whispered. "You solved a poisoning case in 3 days using observation and instinct," Marcus said. "You can certainly photograph my employees." I looked at the wall of images, at the woman I'd been, at the work I'd created, and I made a decision. "Yes," I said, "I'll do it." Sarah hugged me tight. Marcus smiled. But as we celebrated, my phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "You got lucky this time, but some secrets are bigger than you know. Stop digging. Final warning." I stared at the screen. Rebecca was in custody. So who was sending these messages, and what secrets were they talking about? I showed the text to Detective Morrison the next morning. She traced the number. Burner phone. Untraceable. "Could be a prank," she said. "Someone who heard about the case." "Or someone involved," I said. Rebecca acted alone. Her confession was detailed. She had no accomplices. "Then who's sending these?" Morrison had no answer. I tried to push it from my mind. I had work to do, real work. For the first time in decades, I had my cameras out. I was photographing Marcus's employees, their stories, their lives. It felt like coming home. Sarah helped me set up interviews. She was different now, softer, more present. We had dinner together 3 times that week, real conversations, laughter. On Friday evening, we were at my apartment going through contact sheets when she went quiet. "Mom, can I ask you something about Dad?" I looked up. She rarely mentioned Thomas. "Of course. Why don't we have more pictures of him? Of the 3 of us together?" My stomach tightened. "We do. They're in storage." I looked. There are maybe 10 photos total. For a family of photographers, that's strange. She was right. I'd always avoided thinking about it. "After he died, it hurt too much to look at them," I said carefully. "But there's something else, isn't there?" Her voice was gentle but insistent. "Something you're not telling me." I set down my loop. My hands were shaking. "What makes you say that?" "The texts, the warnings. Some secrets are bigger than you know." "Mom, what secret?" I closed my eyes. For 30 years, I'd protected her from this. Protected myself. "Your father didn't die the way I told you," I whispered. Sarah went very still. "What do you mean?" "The roadside bomb. The peace negotiation. That's what the official report said. But I found something later. In his notes. In his last assignment folder." "What did you find?" "Evidence that the peace talks were a setup. That someone wanted him there specifically. Wanted him silenced." Sarah's face had gone pale. Silenced for what? He'd photographed something he wasn't supposed to see. Government officials taking bribes. Weapons deals. He was going to expose it. And they killed him. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I tried to investigate. Contacted journalists, politicians, anyone who would listen. But I had a 2-year-old daughter. And then I started receiving threats. Messages saying, if I didn't stop asking questions, you'd be next. Sarah's hand covered her mouth. So I buried it, destroyed his evidence, stopped working, disappeared into an ordinary life, because keeping you safe was more important than justice. Mom, and now, I continued, these texts, these warnings, someone knows I'm working again, investigating again, and they're afraid I'll start asking questions about your father. After 30 years, maybe they never stopped watching. Maybe seeing my name in connection with Rebecca's case triggered something. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then Sarah said, "We need to find out who sent those texts." "No, we need to let it go, like I did before." "But Dad deserves— You deserve to be safe." My voice was sharper than I intended. "I lost your father. I won't lose you too." Sarah's eyes were fierce. "You taught me this week that truth matters, that seeing clearly can change outcomes. You can't ask me to ignore that now. This is different." "Why? Because it's personal?" "Because it's dangerous." She stood up, paced to the window. "What if Marcus could help?" she asked. "He has resources, connections." "Sarah, no. He cares about you, Mom. I see how he looks at you, like you're someone remarkable. Because you are." I shook my head. "This isn't his problem. But it's ours, and I'm not a child anymore. You don't get to protect me from the truth." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another text. Same unknown number. "Last chance. Meet me tomorrow. 2 p.m. The old steel mill on Riverside. Come alone, or everyone you love will know what your husband really died for." My blood ran cold. Sarah read the message over my shoulder. "We're calling Morrison," she said. "No police." The text said, "Come alone." Mom, that's insane. This could be a trap, or it could be someone who knows the truth, someone who's been silent for 30 years, someone who's finally ready to talk. You can't go alone. I looked at my daughter, at the woman she'd become. Strong, brave, so much like her father. "I have to," I said. "This is the only way to end it." But I was wrong. Tomorrow wouldn't end anything. It would reveal a truth so devastating. It would change everything I thought I knew about my husband, my sacrifice, and the life I'd built from ashes. The old steel mill stood empty against the gray sky. The same place where I'd taken that photograph 30 years ago. The same gates where Marcus and his mother had stood. I arrived at 1:55, my camera bag over my shoulder. Old habit. Document everything. At exactly 2 o'clock, a car pulled up. An older man stepped out. Late 60s, silver hair, weathered face. He looked familiar somehow. "Ms. Mitchell," he said. "Thank you for coming. Who are you?" "My name is Robert Chen. I worked with your husband. I was his editor at the wire service." "Chen, Rebecca's last name." "Rebecca's father," I said. He nodded. "I know what my daughter did. The shame of it is unbearable. But that's not why I asked you here." "Then why?" He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Old, yellowed. My name written in Thomas's handwriting. My hands shook as I took it. "Your husband gave this to me 2 days before he died," Robert said quietly. "He told me if anything happened to him, I should wait. Wait until you were ready, until it was safe." Safe from what? From the people who wanted him silenced. They were powerful then. Some still are, but most are dead now. Gone. The danger has passed. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, Thomas's words, written to me 3 decades ago. "My dearest Diane, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. Sorry for the pain I'm causing you and our beautiful Sarah. But I need you to know the truth. The photographs I took, the evidence I gathered, it's real. It's important. Men in positions of trust were betraying their duty, profiting from suffering. I could have walked away. Should have walked away. I had you and Sarah to think about, but I kept seeing that mother and child in your steel mill photograph, the one you took last month, the way you captured their dignity, their strength. You showed the world that people matter, that truth matters. I realized I had to do the same, even if it cost me everything. I've left the evidence with Robert. He'll know when it's safe to act on it. Trust him. Live well, my love. Raise our daughter to be brave and kind. And please, don't let my choice destroy your gift. The world needs your vision, your truth. Keep seeing, keep witnessing, keep showing people what matters. All my love." Thomas' tears blurred the words. I read it again and again. "He chose this," I whispered. "He knew the risk and went anyway." "Yes," Robert said gently, and his evidence did make a difference. 3 years after he died, several officials were quietly removed from power. Policies changed. Lives were saved because of what he documented. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. I sent letters to your last known address. They came back undelivered. You'd moved, changed your life. I thought perhaps you'd chosen to forget, to protect yourself and your daughter. I had done exactly that, disappeared into ordinariness, into safety. And now? I asked. Now I'm dying. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I couldn't leave this world without fulfilling my promise to Thomas, without giving you the truth. And the texts? The warnings? He looked ashamed. That was Rebecca. When she heard I'd found you, that I was planning to make contact, she panicked. Thought if you started investigating your husband's death, you'd uncover our family connection. She was already unstable, resentful. She thought scaring you would protect me from whatever fallout might come. She didn't know what she was protecting. No, she just knew her father had been involved in something dangerous, something from the past. She wanted to keep you away. I looked at the letter again, at Thomas's words about my photograph, about how it had inspired him to risk everything for truth. I'd thought my sacrifice was giving up my work for Sarah, but the real sacrifice was Thomas's. He'd died so others could live, and he'd asked me to keep working, keep witnessing. For 30 years, I'd done the opposite. There's something else, Robert said. He handed me a small USB drive, digital copies of everything, Thomas's photographs, his notes, his evidence. It's history now. But it's yours. I took it, feeling the weight of it. My husband's last work, his final truth. Thank you, I whispered. Robert nodded. He loved you very much. He talked about you constantly, about your talent, your courage. He'd be proud of what you did this week, solving that case, protecting your daughter. I failed him. I stopped working, stopped fighting. No, Robert said firmly. You raised a remarkable daughter. You survived. You're here now, starting again. That's not failure. That's triumph. He got back in his car. Before he drove away, he said through the window, "Keep seeing, Ms. Mitchell. Keep witnessing." Like Thomas asked. Then he was gone. I stood alone at the steel mill gates, the same place where I'd found my vision 30 years ago, where I'd captured Marcus and his mother, where I'd learned that photographs could change lives. I pulled out my camera, photographed the empty gates, the rusted fence, the light falling across abandoned ground. This place of endings was also a place of beginnings. When I got home, Sarah was waiting. I'd texted her that I was safe. Now I handed her the letter. She read it slowly, tears streaming down her face. "He was a hero," she whispered. "He was. And he believed in the work, in the truth, even when it cost him everything. And you gave up that work to protect me." I did, and I'd do it again. But Sarah, I think it's time to do both. To be your mother and to be the photographer I was meant to be. She hugged me tight. Dad would want that. I want that. That night, I looked through Thomas's files. His photographs were extraordinary, brave, true, the kind of work that mattered. I thought about my own work, the images from this week at Marcus's company, the portraits I'd taken, the stories I'd started to tell. I thought about the 30 years of silence, of small jobs and ordinary days, of raising Sarah alone. And I realized something. Those years weren't wasted. They'd taught me things my younger self never knew. Patience, humility, the quiet strength of simple love. Now I could bring all of it together. The investigator and the mother, the artist and the survivor, the woman who saw clearly and the woman who loved deeply. I didn't have to choose anymore. 3 months later, I had my first exhibition in 30 years at Marcus's company gallery. Photographs of his employees, their families, their lives, real people, real dignity, real truth. Sarah stood beside me at the opening. Marcus was there too. He'd become a friend. Maybe, in time, something more. But the most important person there was a young woman, Jenny Torres, fully recovered, bright and talented and kind. She looked at my photographs with reverence. "You see people the way they deserve to be seen," she said. "The way I hope to someday." I smiled. Keep working. Keep learning. The world needs young artists who care about truth. As the evening wound down, Sarah pulled me aside. "I'm proud of you, Mom," she said, "for starting again, for being brave enough to reclaim yourself. I'm proud of you too, for growing, for learning, for forgiving." We stood together, watching people move through the gallery, looking at images I'd created, images that mattered. "Do you think Dad can see this?" Sarah asked softly. "I think he's been watching all along, waiting for me to remember who I was, who I could still be. She squeezed my hand. That night, I went home to my small apartment, the jasmine on the windowsill, the curtains I'd sewn decades ago, the life I'd built from loss. But now it was more. Now it held cameras and purpose, memory and future, grief and joy existing side by side. I'm 62 years old. My name is Diane Mitchell. I was a photographer who became a mother, then a mother who forgot she was a photographer. And now, finally, I'm both. If my story helps even one person understand that it's never too late to reclaim yourself, to start again, to be brave enough to be who you really are, then every moment of silence was worth it. The truth is, we're all more than one thing. We contain multitudes, and the greatest gift we can give ourselves is permission to be whole. Keep seeing, keep witnessing, keep showing the world what matters. That's what Thomas taught me. That's what I'll spend the rest of my life doing. And I hope, wherever you are, whatever silence you've been living in, you'll find the courage to do the same. The world is waiting to see what only you can show it. Don't make it wait too long.